This is Miss Brianne, and welcome to another exciting virtual program here at the Westhampton Free Library. Now, during January and February, we're offering a different variety of in-person and virtual programs for all of our young library patrons here at the Westhampton Free Library. And they can range anywhere from school-based skills to sensory to art and all those other fun activities. Now today's program is the virtual presentation of one of our winter art programs that we are doing here in person for our young library patrons in grades kindergarten through 3rd grade. And I will introduce that in a minute. But before I do that, I just want to let you know that we are currently in the throes of the winter season. Now, when you think of the winter season, boys and girls, what do you think about, or what's the main thing you think about when you think of the season of winter? Well, the main thing that it's probably be one of the first things that come to mind when you think of the winter season. You think of snow and snowflakes, right? Well, snow is always the most common thought in my head when I think of winter, and I always like to think of pretty snowflakes. And today's activity, we're going to do a watercolor art piece based on snowflakes. And we like to call it watercolor snowflake art. Let's clap for that. Now, this is a very simple activity that doesn't require much. Now, before I go on, I just want to let you know that this idea is from the website One Little Project. So, if you're interested in this activity as well as other similar activities, please click on the web link in the video description. Now, before I begin, I just want to let you know that when you register for this program, you would have received some supplies. So give me 2 minutes. Actually, before I show you the materials, basically what's going to happen is I'm going to go over step by step in order to go over how to create this painting. And when you're done, you should have something that looks like this. Can you see how pretty that is? Doesn't that look nice, boys and girls? And would you like to create a painting like this of your own? All right. So, now, when you register for this program, you should have received a craft kit. And in your craft kit, you will have a couple of pieces of watercolor paper and a watercolor palette, including a brush, a paintbrush. However, in addition to those materials, here's what you should also have on hand. You should have a white crayon or a white oil pastel, table salt, a cup of water to rinse out your brush, a napkin to dry, something to cover your workspace with, and some either washi tape or a masking tape, type of mask tape and tape. All right, with that being said, are we ready to begin? All right, to start off, you're going to take your sheet of watercolor paper and you're going to lie it on a table. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your masking tape or your washi tape, whichever you have, and you're just going to tape it down. Like so. This helps keep the watercolor on the paper, and it actually creates a nice border when all is said and done. And we're just going to cover all 4 sides. Like so. Now I'm just going to move the trash bin near me, so give me 1 minute. And boys and girls, make sure you're near a trash bin. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Alright, so now let's start our painting now that we've taped our watercolor paper down. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your white crayon and you're going to draw and press down as hard as you can. If you don't do this, it won't work as well. But maybe like draw some fancy snowflakes. And like I said, press down as hard as you can. Oops. And apparently there's such thing as pressing down too hard. Just make some nice. And it's best to do this in the sunlight because it makes it easier to see, even though it's white crayon on white paper. It makes it easier to see your snowflake drawing. Put some little lines here. And you won't be able to see this, boys and girls, because like I said, it's white crayon on white paper. But if you don't press down as hard as you can, boys and girls, it's not going to work. You won't see it as well when you paint. And maybe just draw a few smaller fancy snowflakes. Maybe even make dots all over the paper for falling snow. And just keep doing this, boys and girls, until you are satisfied with what you're seeing. Alright, so I'll give you a few minutes to catch up on that. Press down a little bit on that so that comes through. All right, now that you have your winter piece, well, your snowflakes on your paper. Are you ready for the next step? Alright, so when I did my sample, I used kind of like a turquoise and a purple. Now, I'm giving you a watercolor palette that has pink, blue, and green, which are good winter colors. If you want to use the palette, that's fine, but if you prefer to use your own watercolor paints, that is fine too, as long as it's a watercolor. And I'm actually using these. I'm using blue and magenta. So with that, I'm going to take my paintbrush, dip it in one of the colors, and then I'm going to color a section of the paper. And look what happens as I'm painting over the section. All that white crayon I done, it's not holding the paint, so it's appearing. How cool is that? That's why I had you guys press down as hard as you can, because if you don't, it won't show through. So only paint a small section, I'll tell you why. And then while this section is still wet, you're going to take some table salt and you're just going to sprinkle that all over the section you just painted. And the reason it's best to do this while it's still wet, or it won't come out with the effect that you want. So I'm going to take my blue and paint another section. And isn't this amazing, boys and girls? So paint, salt. And any excess salt, you just shake it off in the trash bin. Now I'm just going to rinse off my brush. And this time go in for a little bit of the magenta and try and catch some of that with the blue. Okay, and now I'm going to sprinkle some salt. So you're going to rinse this off and try and blend a little bit of that in. There we go. Maybe get a little bit more pink in the center. And like I said, you can do this however you want, boys and girls. There's really no right or wrong way to do this, with really no right or wrong way to use watercolor. Maybe get a little bit of blue in there. And just keep going until you, just keep going painting and switching colors and salt until the entire paper has been painted over. Like I said, there's no right or wrong way to do this. like I said, you just keep going with this until you complete the whole paper. So I'll give everybody a minute to catch up. Alright, so when you're done, I would recommend waiting a couple hours for the paint to dry. And then when you're done, once it dries, you're just going to gradually peel the tape off of your painting. Do this very slowly. And like I said, make sure your painting is completely dry. And like I said, you get a nice border, and also after it dries and once you remove the tape off, you're just going to bring it over to a trash can and just wipe the excess salt off of your painting. I'm not going to demonstrate that here because this is still damp. But there you have it, a watercolor snowflake art scene. I hope you enjoyed this program. I certainly enjoyed it, boys and girls, and looking forward to the next program. But please, before you do that, please check out all the other programs, either in person or virtually, that myself and the other children's librarians here have to offer at the Westhampton Free Library. But until next time, this is Miss Brianne saying take good care of yourselves, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next program.